Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Just to remind everybody, this class is going to be up on YouTube for your convenience, and it's going to be Chicago Regional Breakout number 2. And we're just going to go ahead and get going here by recapping what did we really do this morning. This morning we tried to get a competitive advantage in our territory by focusing on productivity and efficiency instead of the traditional communication, customer service, and responsiveness. By focusing on productivity and efficiencies, we could give our clients and our prospects a competitive advantage by outsourcing their IT specifically to us, because we were going to be able to show that in every touch point or every feature that we interacted with them, we were either number one or number two. And we were going to figure this out using the Jack Welch model to find out our metrics and understand ourselves versus our competitors. And we did two things this morning. First, we did the best-in-class way to build your prospecting, your outbound lead generation, and how to train your sales reps to make sure that they're doing it in the way that you want to do it, right? We talked about the compelling statement, the features, the transitions, the benefits, the trial closes, the contract end-day selling system, and then we also talked about how to craft the pitch. In today's class, we're going to be changing it up and we're going to talk about inbound lead generation strategies, and we're going to talk about how to scale your sales department, starting with that first salesperson and then growing from there. I like to use the pod system, right? So we have a pod 1, which is your inbound strategies and your inbound department, which handles all your clients. So your account managers are in that department, are in that pod. And then after that, you're building your pods on the outbound side. And then we're going to put it all together on how you can train these gentlemen and young ladies and how to be a better rep. So first off, there's two types of salespeople out there. Just like there's two types of IT people out there. You get your software guys and your hardware guys, and then different levels underneath that. It's the same is true with salespeople. You have your hunters and your farmers. Your farmers deal with everybody that's inside that works with your clients, your account managers, your account executives, anybody who's dealing with your clients day in and day out. Your hunters are total prospectors. They're always looking for somebody to bring into the business that doesn't know anything about your company. I like to equate them to like a waiter at a restaurant, right? So like a farmer is a waiter at a restaurant, because if you go there, you're already hungry. You've already picked the restaurant you want to go to. The only thing he has to do is offer you an appetizer, upsell you on the liquor, try and get you to buy top shelf liquor, and then offer you a dessert, and then do it with a smile, and then make sure that you're happy. And he has done his job, and he has increased his tip, or she has increased her tip, and the company has made more money. A hunter in this example would be standing outside the restaurant and trying to give you a flyer to the restaurant next door to try out their new appetizer that they have. As you can imagine, you're already full, you're not really thinking about eating, and they're coming up to you out of the blue. So they would only have about one person out of 100 that would say, yes, I'll go over there and try an appetizer real quick to see what it's like. So first, let's start with these farmers and what they have to do. We're going to be talking about how much they should be making, their commission structure, what they should be doing, all these things. So let's start on the left-hand side of the screen and how to hire these people. When you're screening them, the two things you want to make sure are that they only have 2 jobs in 5 years, no more. There's no exceptions to this rule. This typical salesperson, the average tenure is 18 to 24 months before they either get bored, they get fired, they quit, whatever happens, the average tenure is 18 to 24 months. So we want to make sure that we're not going for that average tenure type person, so only 2 jobs in 5 years. After that, they have to have long sales cycle experience. It doesn't have to be in your industry, but it has to be in a comparable industry that is examining long sales cycles and long sales cycle management. With these big numbers times multiple year deals, where they have to increase the value of that contract during the tenure of the contract. So that's how they get in the door. That's how they get past the screener. Now, the two things that you want to make sure that you're understanding in the interview process is, one, were they in the top 25% of their company? And it has to be a provable quota-based system, and you have to check on that. And you also have to threat that you're going to check on that. It's called the threat of reference check or the threat of quota check. So you want to make sure that you tell them, hey, I'm going to be checking up on this stuff. The other thing that you want to do is when you're in the interview, and this is the number one thing that you have to be looking for, is you want to hire the smile and train the skill. Hire the smile. What I mean by that, or specifically what I don't mean, is beautiful people. You're not looking for beautiful people to do this job. You're looking for that smile. You want to make sure you don't have a nervous smile. If they're not smiling at all, they're typically a hunter, not the farmer. Farmers tend to smile a lot. They tend to have that light up personality, and they tend to make their smile infectious with other people. So if you're in the interview with them and they're smiling a lot and it's not a nervous smile, and you're starting to smile and you guys are getting along and you feel like you know this person just in that short time, and not from the words that they're saying, but the personality that they're exhibiting, that they're more of the farmer. So you just want to make sure that they're having a lot of smiling time during your interview, because what happens is if they're smiling in the interview when they're nervous, they're a typical smiler, and they're going to be smiling through the phones to your clients and your prospect, or just specifically your clients, and it's going to be infectious, and your clients are going to feel good even if they're calling about something that's negative. The light personality, the personality that draws people to them with that smile, is going to go through the phone and it's going to help out a lot. The last thing I have on here is promoted. If you find anybody that has been promoted in the same company, not across different companies, but in the same company, they've been promoted, they are somebody you have to take very seriously. Because we're all small business owners. For us to give somebody more money after they've been in a position where we either promoted them or gave them more money to be in the position, I'm not talking about annual raises, but a significant portion of money, then they had to do something truly remarkable, and we had to really believe in them. So we know that if another small business owner gave somebody a promotion, they really valued what they did. So it lessens the risk on our side. So anybody that's been promoted in their industry is somebody to move right up to the top of the list and take very seriously. So what do these people do? Right? We know how to hire them. We know that they're going to make between $35,000 and $45,000 a year, depending on where you are in the country. And what are these people doing? Well, the first thing that we want to make sure that they do is they're handling all the projects inside of your company. Now, I don't mean that they're actually scoping out projects. You don't want your salesperson scoping out projects. But after the IT person scopes out the project, builds the project, puts it in Connectwise, the salesperson then comes in, goes into the project portal, takes it out, puts it in either QuoteWorks, Quozel, or Excel, whatever you guys use to build your proposals, does everything, puts all the margins in, builds it, and then sends it back to the IT person. That IT person then does their quality control, however you do your quality control systems, and then sends it back to the salesperson, and the salesperson is the one who has the interactions with the client to negotiate on making sure the project gets done, following up with the project, doing everything that they have to do to close the deal. Now, that was a lot of steps right there. So let me explain why I have it this set up this way. First things first. If you have it set up this way, you keep your IT person as the moral authority, and they're not talking money, right? You want them to be the person who's solving problems and giving solutions to your clients, and not doing it in a way where the client ever thinks that they're doing it for a monetary gain. The salesperson is known to be a monetary person, and so that's okay. They expect that. But you don't want your IT person talking about the money side, because they're the moral authority. So the IT person farmed out that role to a lower wage worker. So what did they do? They outsourced their non-critical functions to a lower wage worker. So that's one. By doing that, by farming out that to a lower wage worker, they can focus their time, their energy, and resources on their core competencies, which are billable rates and their billable time. That's one. Across the IT department, because one salesperson can handle between 8 to 10 IT people doing project proposals, across the department you will see your hours grow up per person by about 3 hours per month across the entire team of 8 to 10 people. So it's a significant increase in billable rates because you outsourced the non-critical functions to the lower wage salesperson. Now, because all 8 to 10 of those IT people are outsourcing their project proposal creation to the salesperson is going to be able to do them bigger, better, and faster because they're handling 8 to 10 times more of these things than that one IT person alone. So he's going to get bigger, better, and faster at doing them. He's going to be a second set of eyes on the target, so you can have another quality control step in the process. And he's going to be able to do them faster. And because you have this salesperson who is now understanding project proposals as well, he's going to be able to talk to the client and the prospect about these project proposals. You're going to build his knowledge base, and he is going to be a complete asset in your company, not only from the sales side, but from the IT side. He's going to end up being your quarterback or your keystone. He's going to be very, or she's going to be very, very, very important in your company because he understands not only the billing side, the IT side, and the sales side. What else happens here? Salespeople are not afraid to ask for more money. Most people that I talk to, they put margins on their materials. I'm not talking about sand deals or anything like that. I'm talking about PCs and workstations. They put about 15% margins on their deals. You can increase that to about 25% by having a salesperson do the project proposals. And here's why. One, the salesperson will ask for it. But two, they'll have an objection handler script ready if they have any people that say, whoa, this is a lot higher than what I saw on a comparable unit in Dell. So here's why they're able to do that, and here's the script or the process that they can use to explain why they have their prices are a little bit higher than Dell, even though Dell doesn't have a comparable unit inside what we're doing. So the IT person isn't just doing IT work, and the IT company is not just doing IT work, right? So when we purchase a piece of equipment, you have to go to Dell, you have to enter in everything, then you have to have somebody track it. Then you have to have somebody, when it comes in, they have to inventory it, separate it from all the other packages they got that day, check it off against the list, make sure it's all there and it's all working. Then they have to go and they have to put it into the lab and set it up for the IT person so the IT person can do their IT magic. That's when all the IT work happens. Like if it's a workstation, that's when they bring it in, they put it, they build it, then they image it, put it back in the box, take it over to the IT company, set it up on the network. That's when all the IT magic happens. But there's a lot of non-IT work involved in that to get to that stage. And we don't want to charge our clients IT rates for non-IT work. That wouldn't be fair. So if you say that we're charging you non-IT rates for non-IT work, that's outside of the scope of the IT side, they completely understand it. They understand it's a benefit for them, and you didn't add an extra hour of IT billable work where they know it's a very high value work and high cost. If you tell it to them that it's in a non-IT way, it's going to help out a lot, and they're going to be able to ask for more margins. Now, what do you pay your sales rep for doing these project proposals, right? Because you got your IT people, they're going to be able to increase their billable rates by 3 hours per month. You also have to pay your sales rep to do this. If they're over 20 points on the margins, you pay them 1%. If they're over 25, you put them at 1.5%. If you got 30 points on margins, you offer them 2%, right? And that's the carrot that they really like it. They're quick hitters. You get these project proposals all the time, and they can do this, and it only costs you 1 to 2% on a higher margin materials, and you got more billable rates out of your IT people. So it helps out a lot in this type of format because you just increased your quality control checks, you increased your margins on your materials, and you got your billable rates up on your IT people who don't like to do that paperwork because it's not really in their in their wheelhouse. They like to solve problems, not build pieces of paper. So that really helps out on the billable side for this account manager that you just brought in. That costs $35,000 to $45,000. He's typically, your quarterback. He's handling across all different departments. And now, what else does he do? Because that's not his entire day. He has to be the sales assistant to the principal. If you're principal-led selling, meaning the owner of the company is still doing the closing, then you're in a principal-led system. But it doesn't have to work this way. It can also work in a rainmaker way. Whoever is the person going out and closing the deals, it's usually a top person in the company if you don't have outside salespeople yet. But what we know about CEOs and high-level people is they're always running from fire to fire to fire. They're always handling something. And when they're not handling a fire, they're doing prospecting work. But The CEO can only do prospecting work with people that engage back with them. If anything goes dark, if anything is not hot anymore, it falls off the radar. Not because CEOs are jerks, but they're just so busy all the time that if anything goes dark, they forget about it. And it's just the truth. It doesn't make him a bad person, it just makes him extremely busy. So your salesperson will be able to come in there and handle all those follow-ups. But that's understood. We know that salespeople have that dogged persistence to go in and fill that need, do all those follow-ups, and they will follow up for years with prospects. And they do it in a nice way. It's not like they're chasing and hounding people. They're giving them a call every couple of months, make sure everything's going well. Is the timing right? No, not yet. Okay, we'll give you a call in a couple more months. And they just stay on top of people. So how do we pay these sales reps for the sales side? We understand how we pay them for the prospecting side, but how do we pay them for the sales side? The sales side, they get between 4 and 6%. If they're below 75% to goal, they get 4%. If they're between 75% and 110%, they get 5%. If they get above 110%, they get an extra point. They get 6% a commission on the gross revenue. But we have to understand something about this. If you are doing this in a way where you are doing the lead generation, you're doing the prospecting for your company, meaning you're doing it through SEO, Google AdWords, SEM, whatever you're doing, referrals, somebody called you up from your networking group or your EO group, then there has to be a pay back into the system. So it's called a house generated lead. If the house or the company generates the lead for the sales rep has to pay into the pot, and it's usually 1 to 2% depending on where you're putting your commissions. Like if you have your commissions a little higher, then you go up to 2%. If they're right around 4 to 6%, they pay 1% into the pot. So these house-generated leads, these company-generated leads are very important for your company because you're paying twice if you don't do it this way. You're paying for the lead generation and you're paying for the sales rep. The sales rep is supposed to do lead generation, but if he doesn't have the time for it and you're doing it in other ways, he's got to pay into the pipe to keep it going. So company-generated lead or a house-generated lead is a way to keep the pipe going without breaking the bank or double-dipping into your side of it. It shares the risk, and the reps don't mind because the reps don't like prospecting. Nobody likes to prospect day in and day out. It takes a certain kind of fisherman that wants to do prospecting. So if your person doesn't like to prospect and they're completely happy getting their leads that way, then hey, it works. So the other thing that we talked about is this email marketing. They have to do the email marketing campaign. They're building the email company. They're doing your content. They're putting it up on the blog. They're tracking everything and doing the metrics at the end of the month. But it's your hunter who's actually doing the follow-ups, calling these prospects up. And last thing is, how do we measure these guys? You measure these guys through the activity point system. The activity point system is already embedded in Connectwise. It's already there for us to use. Why don't we use it? So in my playbook, you can go into the setup tables, and I have all this written out for you. You go into the setup tables, you create your point system, and it's all in an automated way through your sales activity. So if they make a call and log the call in their activity, they get a point. They do an email, log it, they get a point. If they get somebody's contract end date, they can put it in there and they get themselves 5 points. Or if they get an appointment, they get 15 points. All these different point values are an automated way of checking up on that rep so you don't have to have a manager at this stage yet. And everything is processed and metriced out without having to have some oversight because the oversight is automated already. So if you haven't done this point system before, or if you've never done a point system, you want to start off small, right? Start off at around 250 points per week, and the rep can generate their own activity report so they can bring it into your one-on-one with them. So you want to start off at 250 points a week. That's 50 points a day, and they could do that with their eyes closed. Even if they've never done a point system before, their natural part of their day will be able to handle 50 points in a day. After the first month, you want to raise it to 300, and then after that, 350, 400, 450, 500. If you have a rep who gets to 500 points, which is the best in class in the industry, you have the most efficient rep and processes in the industry. That's your goal, and it can get there. And the way that you get there, because you can't be tracking everything and making sure that all these processes are working, is you give the rep a carrot when they get to 500 points. If they meet 500 points in a week, they get a $25 gift card, or they get a $40 gift card, whatever you guys do to give them the little carrot. So they will start finding processes and efficiencies in the system because they want that $25 gift card. Who doesn't, right? Just for doing their job, they get $25. Anybody will take that, especially sales reps, because they love that carrot type of mentality. So 500 points is what you're aiming for. 300 points is your minimum. If anybody ever falls below 300 points, and it doesn't have to do with PTO or something, you need to seriously look at that person and see if they're starting to fizzle out on you. Because 300 points is the minimum that people should be doing in our industry, using our point system. So that's what it takes to build a farmer in this industry, and that's the first hire that you want to make. So what happens when you bring on this hunter? So here's the hunter. The hunter is pretty much the same as the farmer in what you're looking for. You want that 2 jobs in 5 years, long sales cycle management experience, long sales cycle sales experience. But there's one difference here. You want to hire the talent, train the skill, not the smile. You don't care about the smile with the hunter. You care about the talent. And here's how you find that nugget of truth, how you find that top 10%, that top 1% salesperson, because they all have the innate talent to answer objections in the same way. We know that historically, sales reps, whenever they go into an interview, the hunter sales reps go into an interview, they know that they're going to be answering questions about their previous employment. Give me an example of when you did this and how did you succeed. Give me an example of when you did this and how you didn't succeed and what would you have to overcome it. Give me an example of your typical day. And then what they know is coming typically in the interview is the stressor question. And the stressor question is always, historically been, sell me this pen, sell me this piece of paper, sell me this, or this, right? So we know it's coming, and it's no longer a stressor question because we're ready for it. And so we already have our system in our head to do it. But that's not where we find out if they have talent or not, because that's a learned skill. How you find out if they have a talent or not is by halfway to 2/3 through the interview, you say, you know what, you give them a compliment. You say, you know what, you seem like a really good salesperson. However, in our industry, we're kind of unique and we have a very high learning curve, and I just don't think that your skill set can translate into what we do here. And then you stop talking, and this is the hardest part. You just stop talking. The rep will naturally do two things. If they're a mediocre rep and they've just been trained to be a salesperson, they will confuse and redirect on you. They will say something while they're trying to gather their thoughts, and then they'll revert back to flip the question to the prospect. So they'll say something like, oh yeah, you know, da 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 da. They'll say something. So what's your training program like? So they'll turn it back on you and say, what's your training program like? So they'll start asking you questions because they're trying to gather their thoughts, and they don't know what to do here. That's not a talent, right? That's just a learned skill called confuse and redirect. But if they have the talent, they will handle every objection in a stressor type environment like this. They will handle it with empathy first, and then why they can do it. And it's just a natural thing that comes out of the mouth of these hunters, these great hunters. They will say, you know, I hear where you're coming from, but this is why I can do it. You know, thanks, I appreciate that, because they'll, you know, you gave them a compliment. They'll say, I appreciate that, but here's why I think I would really succeed here. And it all happens through the same thing. Every sales rep that's been great had to start at his original company, and he didn't know anything about that industry, and he was able to learn it and crush it there. So, I mean, that's how they handle it. I mean, we all know it after listening to it, there's no new industry. We're all just different industries. You have to learn it no matter where you're at. So they could do it too. But you're just trying to see if they handle it with empathy, which builds the relationship, and then answers the objection. If they do it that way, they have a lot of talent. You need to put them right up to the top of your interview list and who you're considering. How much do you pay these guys? These guys get paid $40,000 to $50,000 per year, depending on where you're at. They also get 4 to 6% commission, and they have to pay into the pot if you're getting the lead for them. But they're going to be able to do their own leads, because by week 2, they're already going to be able to start making calls and calls for you. And they will be up to 80, between 80 and 100 calls per day by their second week. It's going to take them a week to learn the features and benefits of your company, and it's also going to take them, 1 day to learn Connectwise. Just what they need to know, right? In the beginning, all they need to know is activities and opportunities, and then if you guys do timesheets, they got to do timesheets, and they're going to figure it out on the fly and asking the person next to them to figure it out. But they're going to make 100 activities in their very first day, so they're going to learn that pretty darn quick. So if all they're doing is inside and outside prospecting, what else do they have to do? They have to follow up on the marketing campaign. We talked about that this morning, and we talked about what they have to do. They just have to call the person up that they got the activity put in their into their activity feed for, and follow up with it. But how do we know if these guys are working? How do we know if they're doing a really good job over the long term, right? Because traditionally, firing a salesperson is an emotional decision, not a process one. So we're going to try and protect ourselves from this emotional decision, take the emotions out of it, and make sure that it's a process. So here's the way that I've always done it, and I've felt that it's always a pretty good indicator of about the time that you're not going to get any more money out of this rep, or they're not going to be successful to begin with. So we know that we're going to build it in $5,000 per month. They're making between $40,000 and $50,000. So we're going to say with their COGS and with everything that's involved in the rep, you're paying out $5,000 in the month. If you're paying out $5,000 in the month, you've invested $5,000, and he is $5,000 in debt to you. So in month 2, you invested another $5,000, and now he is $10,000 in debt to you. So now you're at 2 times COGS, cost of goods sold. We call a rep, a cost. So if that rep is now $10,000 in the hole to you, if you do projects outside of your MSP deals, right, for prospects, he should be able to get the first small project either likely to close or closed at the end of that second month. If you don't do those, then you're going to have to wait to the third month before you can start really judging this. In the third month, they absolutely should have their first small MSP deal closed or likely to close in that third month. So here's what happens, right? So in your first month, you paid $5,000. In your second month, you paid another $5,000, and you're $10,000 in the hole. In the third month, you paid another $5,000, and you're $15,000 in the hole. If they sold an MSP deal in that month, they're no longer $15,000 in the hole. They're whatever that deal was worth. So if it was worth $2,000 a month, then they're not $15,000 in the hole. They're $13,000 in the hole. And because that deal is a monthly deal across 24 months, they get an extra. They get $2,000 every single month. So by month 3, they're now $13,000 in a hole. You've invested another $5,000, so they drop to $18,000, right? Because they've already paid $2,000 into the pot. And if they get another deal that month, then they're not $18,000 in the hole. They're $16,000 in the hole. So you see them starting to come back up. But if they didn't sell anything in the 4th month, that means they're 4 times COGS in the hole. Once they hit 4 times COGS in the hole, you have to consider your first write-up, your first written warning. If they're doing 500 points a week, and they've got a bunch of proposals out there, but just nothing's closed for them yet, at 4 months, maybe you don't want to give them that write-up yet. If you think they're really hustling, then you don't give them the write-up yet. You tell them, look, this is where I traditionally give people a write-up, but you got a lot on the plate, and I've seen these deals, and I see that there's a lot of traction here, so why don't we just forego this for a month? But if they don't have a lot on the plate, or they have a lot of air, then 4 months, 4 times COGS is their first write-up. 5 times COGS is their second and final warning. 6 times COGS, which could be up to $30,000 in the hole, they're automatically terminated. You're not going to be able to get them out of the hole for a long, long time. How many deals do they have to close to get themselves out of the hole by $30,000? That's a lot of deals, right? That's 15 deals at the average $2,000 deal. How long is it going to take them to get 15 deals? It's going to take a long time. Hunters are a big investment, and they can be a huge cost if you don't monitor them correctly on the process side. So how are we going to do this? How do we have these? I told you I like to do everything through stages, right? Through pods. We know our stage one, our account manager, our pod one is the account manager, and we know that he's got to get 500 points per week. He can handle up to 8 to 10 IT people, and he can do 5 project proposals per day, 2 of them being brand new. And they can handle your sand ones. They can handle your typical to above average project proposals. They can't handle the big ones, the big monsters, right? You have to leave that with your IT boss, whoever is your, VP of IT. But one of the things that you tend to find with these account managers is they always think that the grass is greener over on the hunter side. So they're eventually going to want to turn into a hunter side. So you have to understand what you have to do to get them into a hybrid mode so they can turn into a hunter if they want to. So now here's what the conversation that you have with this farmer. The farmers typically don't prospect. So they have to prove to you that they can prospect. And prospecting's hard. So what they have to do is there's 2 things you have to measure. First, if they want to turn into a farm or a hybrid, then they have to understand that the territory is going to get split in half, and you're going to have to hire another account manager, and his salary that is based on commissions from project proposals is going to decrease by half. The second thing is he has to, if you have an account manager and he's at 500 points per week, which is the max, and he's consistently at 550 points or 10% higher, he's in the red line. And he's going to start having a lot of issues. So you're going to have to split the pod then. You're going to split the job role then as well. But if he wants to move into this hybrid rep, he has to prove to you for 2 months, 60 days, that he can prospect. So 2 hours per day, which is about 30 calls per day, he's going to have to prospect. And by the end of these 2 months, he is going to either say, yeah, I love prospecting, or no, I don't want to do this prospecting. I'll stick with the account manager. And that's how you build him from an account manager to a hybrid to a hunter if he wants to go that route. He has to test the waters, and you're willing to work with him to test the waters. But if he can't manage it and he can't meet his KPIs at the end of those 60 days worth of prospecting, then you need to have a serious conversation with him about maybe he wants to do a different track. Maybe he wants to move up the account manager track, which is just as good. Okay, so we have our account manager and we have our hybrid, and we know how much they're getting paid, and we know how many points they have to do per week. What's the first thing that you're hiring when you're moving into the business development side, the outbound side? Well, everybody comes into your company as a level 1 hunter, and a level 1 hunter is 10% below the money that I told you about earlier, which is $40,000 to $50,000. You give them, they are below that by 10%. Right? Once they prove themselves as a prospector, a level 1, then they get the 10% bump and they move into your finisher role or your level 2 role. The prospector within 2 weeks will be able to be making between 80 and 100 calls per day, because they don't have to learn all the projects. They don't have to learn Quozal and QuoteWorks and Excel and all these different things. All they have to do is pick up the phone, learn your features and benefits, and set appointments for you. And once they understand the script, then they can do it, and they can do it often. It takes about 3 months for these guys to really get a feel for it. It takes about 6 months before you can trust them moving into the next role, the finisher role. You never want your finishers closing the rainmaking deals, those huge deals. That is always left with either your number 1 person in the company, your principal, or the number 2 person in the company. You don't want your salespeople focusing on those big deals, because what they'll do is they'll get that big elephant hunting thing in their head, and they'll quit chasing after the little ones. Right? The little ones are the base hits. That's how you feed yourself. That's how you get your groceries. The big elephant deals, the huge deals, that's how you buy your yacht. And reps get this, they see these big deals and they think, oh my goodness, I'm going to do all these great things. But really, they neglected all their smallies for this one big deal, and then the big deal pretty much always falls through. So let your number 1 in the company or level 2 in the company deal with that, not the prospector and finisher. Your finisher, once they prove themselves, and you're building this in a way where you go like this. You go out on all the deals with your prospector. The prospector is sitting there, he's in the beta role, and he's taking all the notes for you, and he's doing all the discussions for the follow-ups. So this sounds like we got a good fit here. I'd like to go ahead and schedule some time to move forward. When would be a good time for you? That's their job in the when they're going out. It's like if you have them do the net detective, they do the net detective. If you have them do the pictures of the network and the rat's nest of a IT closet, then they're the ones that take the pictures for you, and then they're the ones responsible for putting them inside of Connectwise. Once these prospectors have proven that they can handle the note side and the picture side and everything in the beta role, then you start switching after between 3 to 6 months. This is when you start switching, and they start doing the call, and you as the owner or as the principal are taking the notes with them and seeing if they can handle the call by themselves. It's the most difficult thing in the world for an owner to do, is to shut up and let the salesperson do the job. It's so hard. I got it. I know it. You can't get me in a room and let one of my salespeople talk because I'll just bogart the conversation. It's hard for us to do. I know. But if you can do it, you're going to make that rep better. They're going to be able to go out on all these small deals for you, and then they're going to be the ones that go out, and you're going to have deals that are closing without your knowledge. And that's a good feeling. Your company's growing, and it didn't 100% get involved with you. That's awesome. So when you're in the position of 3 to 6 months, let the rep take charge of the account, and if he messes up, let it happen. Take over if you have to, but make sure you're holding back unless you have to jump in. And then by 6 to 9 months, your rep can handle it on his own. Your closer can go out and handle it on his own. So they come in as a prospector, they get promoted into a finisher, then the next person that you hire in your pod is a prospector, and then he gets promoted into a finisher, and then then the next person you hire is a prospector, and that's what the pod looks like. Now, a sales engineer can handle this entire pod, both of these pods. A sales engineer can handle this, plus handle his own light workload on his side. Right about now is when you hire your first manager. If you're using these activity point systems, a lot of the KPIs were built this way, and they're all okay. Everybody's doing their job, and you're checking everything through 101. So you have about a 1, 2, 3, 4. You have a 4-hour investment in your 101s to make sure everything's running smoothly. But what are these business development managers? There's two types out there. You have your executive managers and you have your maintenance managers. Your executive manager is who you bring in if you don't have any processes in place, nothing, and you want him to come in or her to come in and build your entire company. I strongly consider that you do not, or I strongly advise that you don't hire yourself an executive manager at this time. The person that you hire is a maintenance manager. Go to a company like True Methods or our company or Alex Rogers' company, somebody out there, and have them build your sales department so you don't have to pay these crazy high salaries of these executive managers. A maintenance manager is a heck of a lot cheaper, and their job is to make sure that everybody's doing their job, their KPIs are performing well, and they're tweaking things that have already been built. So that'll save you a lot of money in understanding the difference between an executive manager and a maintenance manager. So that's how you set up your sales department. And that's how you grow your account managers by, once they hit their 500 points and they're up to 550 points, then you have to split the department or split the person and hire another person. On your finisher side, once you are able to handle the workload, or you need to get more workload, you can get bigger than this. If they're working in one territory and you work within your 60-mile range, your 40-mile range, you usually don't need to get bigger than this. You can stay at 2 finishers and 1 prospector, 1 sales engineer, and 1 manager in this territory, and you're fine. You're fine. Because think about this. Each of these guys are making 100 calls per day, including the prospector and the finishers. The finishers are typically calling about between 30 and 60 calls per day because they're going out on the appointments that the prospector is setting for them. So you have 200 calls per day going out. That's a lot of calls going out. At the end of the week, that's 1,000 calls that were made to different companies in your territory. If you're the typical mid-sized territory, you have between 4,000 and 6,000 businesses that you're targeting. So every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, you're retreading calls. So this is about as big as it can get. If you're going to open up a second territory, that's when you can start adding in more people to that environment. So, what is the number one inbound strategy to help these guys grow? There's a lot of strategies out there. There's SEO, SEM. You have different marketing companies out there, but the best one out there is Google AdWords, and it is the knife's edge. You can either do very, very well with this, or you can get absolutely crushed. It's like the stock market to me. If you don't know what you're doing in the stock market, you're going to lose a lot of money. If you know what you're doing, you're going to do well. You're going to do okay. If you have somebody that you know that has done this before and they've been successful, you're going to do even better. So, the thing that I know about Google AdWords is there has been a lot of successful people out there that have done a couple different. There's only one big system out there that works, and that is Tim Conkle's system out of Roland Technologies in Dallas Fort Worth, Texas. He has invented the wheel. There's no reason to reinvent it. He's done a very successful job. And he's just like everybody else in this room. He failed with salespeople. He failed with Google AdWords. He failed with SEO, SEM. He tried to hire people to do his Google AdWords accounts and his lead generation. And just like the rest of us, it didn't work out for him. So finally, one day, he said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm either going to uh, get a salesperson and learn how to be a sales manager, because he's an IT guy. I'm going to learn how to be a sales manager, or I'm going to do it through Google AdWords. I don't want to be a sales manager. So I'm going to do it through Google AdWords so I don't have to invest in much people time. I can invest in process time. So true to his word, he spent a lot of money and a lot of time building up his Google AdWords campaign, and he took his company from $850,000 a year to $9 million within 6 years. Now, I just talked to him about 4 weeks ago, and he told me that he is still on track to make another million. So he's doing really well, and he only does it through Google AdWords. So today what we're going to talk about is how to set up the basics of the campaign to get you going. And I'm going to help you guys do that by understanding your territory and what you have to do to make your Google AdWords success. Now, before we all jump into Google AdWords here, I just want everybody to understand Tim Conkle is a top 1% sales personality. He is really good. On top of that, he also has a best-in-class business case. He has a really good business case. So when he goes into a deal, he's winning a lot more than the average person going in and winning deals. So he's got two things going for him really strong. So I don't want to set the expectations so high that Google AdWords is a godsend and everybody's going to have the best things in sliced bread. But if you use these strategies, the basics of this plan, and build upon it by either talking to somebody who has taken Tim Conkle's class because he no longer offers it, or by starting here and building your own case study like he did over time, you're going to be more successful than your peers. So setup cost is cheap. That's the beautiful thing about Google AdWords. To equalize versus the top competitors out there, Mindshift and TeamLogic and all these huge people that have lots of money in their coffers, you don't need a high ramp-up cost. You just need your time. And it's going to take 4 hours from the principal and 4 hours from the sales rep who has to do the legwork. The monthly cost is between $3,000 and $5,000. You have to use this in your head as a salesperson, monitoring the metrics just like you monitor the metrics of a salesperson. And it's going to take 2 hours per month for them to tweak and make sure that everything's going right. So how do we do this? Google AdWords works in a very simple way that becomes very complex. You have a Google AdWord, the ad, and it has to be attached to a landing page. This relationship, the better it is, the better quality score Google gives you, which means that you can get higher up on the ranks for lower amounts of money per click. So let's get into the 4 things that we have to figure out if we're going to be doing this. First thing is, when you go into your Google AdWords accounts and you're setting up your account, the first thing you need to understand is, do I want to do a search network or a display network? I don't want to get too deep into this. Just choose search network. Display network is for branding. We don't want that. So make sure you do search network. Next, devices, location, and ad schedule. You only want to do the workstation devices. You don't want to get yourself into the mobile game yet. I don't trust the mobile game. It's still a lot of branding stuff, and we're trying to get clicks to get return on our investment. So only work on the devices that are within that you want, which are PCs. Locations. You have to set up the location. You can go in there and you can set up just the Chicago area. You don't have to do different areas. You do the location and you do the time. You only want to do Mondays through Fridays between 7 in the morning and 7 at night. You're going to miss out on some CEO level appointments at real late at night and on the weekends, but you're also not going to get those wasted clicks as well. And for right now, let's go as lean as we can, and we're going to build up our negative keywords. And I'm going to get into that in the 2 slides down the road. The next thing you want to consider is ad extensions. Ad extensions help your quality score. And ad extensions, if you are investigating what's going on in the ad when somebody types in your keyword and it comes up on Google and you're looking at it, there is a difference in real estate between the ads. So ad extensions do wondrous things for your ad to make it bigger than your peers. So we'll talk about that in the next slide. And then the last thing is your keyword planner. Your keyword planner is the most important thing because there's a lot of long tail keywords out there that aren't being chased. But because nobody has the time or the budget to do everything, they only go after what they know. So we're going to talk about keyword planner and how you can get into these long tail keywords that other people aren't chasing after, which will give you more time in front of your prospects on Google and for a less amount of money because nobody's bidding on these keywords. So let's jump right into the Google AdWords, into the ad extension side. I know this is a super busy slide, so let me just draw your attention to it. Right up at the top here, you can see this is your Google AdWords page, right? The campaign that you're building. So we're going to talk about this button over here, ad extensions, and you bring it up, and you have to decide whether you want to do ad extensions for links, for phone calls, or if you want to do an offering. So, and they're pretty self-explanatory. So right here on this first one, you see Ray-Bans, and they have 4 other links that you can click on. These are clickable links, and it adds real estate to the ad. It's a very large ad compared to the typical ad, which stops right there. So they not only have Ray-Ban sunglasses online with free overnight shipping, but they talk about the Sun Store, the Clubmaster, the Wayfarer, and the Aviators. Those are the 4 types of sunglasses that you can choose from. And they have to do, it stays within the site of sunglasses. So it's the ad extension adds to the quality score by giving even more relevant information in the links. So the links have to be related to the ad. So you can't just put in about us, right, or contact us. It has to be related in general to what the ad is about. So if you're doing a BDR ad, one of the links at the bottom say, BDR assessment can be a link. Do you understand what I'm saying? The links have to be correlated to the ad, and it'll increase your quality score. So on the left-hand side of this, you can actually put in your phone number, which increases all this space that you can put in there. You can put in your phone number, and they can click right on it, and it'll go right to your phone number. And Google thinks that is a very efficient way to get people to give you a call. The last one is my favorite one, and this is the one that I've had the most success with. You're going to have to test these out in your market, but the ones that I've had the most success with is the view offer down here. If you have a free assessment for BDR, if you have a free network assessment that you're doing and you're sticking in the Net Detective and you're able to give them a free network assessment, this is where it is right down here. And this view offer, those 2 words are very powerful and clickable. That call to action is a call to action without telling somebody it's a call to action. So these 3 ways to build your ad extensions can really help you out a lot. So one last thing I want to talk about here is some of the keyword planners, some of the keywords that are out there. So what I did was I went to the territory and I picked Chicago. And if you can look on here, and I use support network, right? Network support. And there's a lot of different network support services as high. There's 50 clicks per month in this Chicago area. In network support specialist, there's 40. But IT network support, there's nothing that happened last month. Computer network support, 30 clicks happened, or 30 impressions. People searched for it 30 times within the Chicago territory. but nobody is competing in those three keywords. That's powerful. That is really powerful. That type of insight means that you can create a key or an ad to a landing page that still has to do with network support, but you can add in the key phrases of computer network support and get those clicks and get to the top of the page because nobody is going for it. And because there's no suggested bid over here, you can put the bid that you want because nobody's bidding on those keywords in the Chicago territory right now. So you don't have to pay these crazy, crazy sums of money, like $85 per click for managed services provider in Chicago. That's how much it costs in Chicago. $85 per click to get at the top of the page or near the top of the page for managed services provider, which we all can think that is a very, very good search term, but it turns out that it's not really the best because we're going to be competitive and we're going to find other ways to get in there and get to the places that we want to get to. So we've talked about everything here. We've talked about how we have to set up our ad, and we've talked about ad extensions and keyword planners and devices and locations and everything, but how do we have to set up the landing page? Now here's the key to the landing page. The ad that you're building, the headline in the ad, has to 100% match the headline of the landing page. That increases your quality score. You want to describe the offer, you want to put testimonials on it, and you want to make it easily shareable. Right? You want people to be able to look at it and understand it and get the benefits of it. The call to action is going to be very simple on your landing page. If it's an offer, if you're doing the view offer, then on the landing page you're going to view offer for 10%. So it's the verb plus whatever the call to action is. Now, one thing where people mess up on this a lot when they're doing their Google AdWords is they don't check their site for site speed according to what Google wants. Right? Even if you're hosting your own or you have somebody host it like Google or GoDaddy or somebody, you have to test your site speed through Page Insights on Google's developer tools. And all you do is you type in your website, click enter, and it will check and verify your site for PC speed and for mobile speed, and it'll check everything that is inside of it, and it'll give you all the things that you did really well at and the things that slow down your site and what Google thinks you need to fix in order to get a better quality score. You need to have your privacy policy in there. That's one of the ways that you're able to increase your quality score. And just have the word privacy policy and go to a different page. It needs to be a clickable page that goes to something else that says what your privacy policy is. You're never going to share their information with somebody else. Your clients privacy is very important to you. And then it has to be on your typical page that has all your tabs up on the top like your home page does or whatever your other pages does, and it needs to be a movable site or so your clients can go through different sites from this landing page. It can't be a static landing page that they can't move from. They got to be able to go to the home page and the contact us page, and that's how you build the landing page. It doesn't have to be unbelievably difficult. And I'm going to show you how to look at other people's landing page to see what I'm talking about. So we've talked about what you have to do here. We've talked about the Google ad, the landing page, how much it's going to take to set it up, the monthly cost. Now, here's the trick. Here's where most people fail. We've all tried Google AdWords at one time or another, and we've all failed at it, including me. But what I didn't know then, I knew that I wasn't going to trust somebody else to do this, but I thought I was doing the right thing, but I chickened out. The game is about the negative keywords. Because negative keywords are either going to make you or break you. You can turn Google AdWords into a cost or an investment with your Google AdWords or with your keywords. Because if somebody clicks on your ad because they search for network support for Yale University, that's not anything that's powerful to you, and that doesn't help you at all. So if you put the negative keyword, that's a negative keyword to you, and it costs you $25 for somebody to click on that ad, which has nothing to do with you. So if you take that keyword, Yale University, and put it into your negative keywords spot on your Google AdWords, and they have a big Excel list where you can put in a bunch of them, then that cost is now an investment, and it's an asset in your company. And when you go to sell your company, you have thousands and thousands of negative keywords that is an asset in your company, and it's a non-depreciable asset. Because once you have them, they're yours. I know companies that have thousands, 10,000 negative keywords that they use, and that is how they're able to beat everybody else in their environment because they don't have to go through all those crappy links or crappy clicks anymore. So I would encourage you, if you're in an HTG group or if you have peers or buddies in this industry, get together with them. If you don't, you can call me and I will put you with another group and trade negative keywords. You guys aren't competitors. If somebody's in Texas and you're in somewhere else, trade negative keywords across from each other. Give yourselves and your buddies a competitive advantage against everybody else, so you guys are the ones sipping tequila down at the beach in 20 years because you sold your company at a much better price than everybody else. These three companies at the bottom, Espionage, SEMrush, and SpyFU, are the three companies that you can use to investigate your competitors. These are the three companies that you can use to see what your competitor in your territory is doing. So let's take a look at somebody that we all know. This is Google AdWords for Connectwise.com. You can see that they have 191 keywords that are in a pay-per-click capacity that they're checking out, that they're using every single month. They're spending between $29,000 and $91,000, $81,000 per month. And last month they had between 79 and 132 clicks. You want to use all three of these free sites because none of them are perfectly accurate and you can take the best of each. So what this does is this tells you what Connectwise uses for ads and what landing page. So right here is their ad. This is the landing page that is attached to it, and it tells you exactly what you need to know for what they do. And then it has the top landing pages that are the most successful for them. So now you know what your competitor's doing, how much they're paying, and what keywords they're going after. So when you type in that keyword and you see where they're placing, you can see how well they're doing with their AdWord and their landing page combined. So let's take a look at how how Connectwise does their ads. Just looking at this right here, you can see that Connectwise has the better of the three. Even though they're not in the top position, this ad is the smallest. Connectwise added in an ad extension, and they have 2 extra lines here. So their space is the most out of everybody. So even though they're in second place, which means that they didn't have to pay as much as Autotask, and the keyword here is Connectwise, so even though they're not in first place, they're second in this keyword. They have the most space because somebody thought that they could do better by improving on this keyword, not by paying more to this keyword, but by increasing the real estate that they're using inside of that. So they paid less, they used ad extensions, and your eye is drawn to them because they have more space than everybody else. So what's the return on investment for what we're doing here? I mean, we've already talked about what these guys are doing, how much you should be paying them, how much commission they should be getting, things like that. How many appointments should they be getting? Right, these prospectors. These prospectors should be getting you between 8 to 12 appointments per month. And I'm talking about the MSP or MRR appointments. I'm not talking about the project appointments. That's separate. They should be having 8 to 12 appointments per month, and they should be able to do 40% contract end dates that we were talking about earlier in our first class, and those contract end dates over time will build up, and they should be able to close 50% of all contract end dates to put into the pipe as an appointment. So it's a pretty powerful system to get your return on investment. The other side of it is your Google AdWords. You should be paying about $500 per client acquisition for your Google AdWords. So if you're investing $5,000 a month, you should be able to get between 8 and 12 appointments out of this per month. And the good thing about it is you don't have to pay as much commission on these. So that's it for the presentation on this side of it. I know that I've gone over a lot of information. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. My name is Rob Rogers, and I'm with Osprey Strategic Research. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks a lot, and hope you're having a great day.